Hi, I'm Lynn.
And I'm Leo. Welcome back to Yoga with Lynn and Leo.
And welcome to our sequence today. We're going to be working on those nerves before you travel. But also this routine will be really good for those of you who suffer from any stress or anxiety.
Yes, quite. A lot of people suffer from very bad travel anxiety. So if that applies to you, you need to really address it before you go on your trip. So this is a really nice sequence to do to help you with those, struggling with those nerves.
So what we're going to do today is to go through different practices so that we broaden the framework of the body, we change the breath. So the breath needs to become a little bit deeper, a little bit slower. So before we start, Leo's going to go through some of the equipment.
Yeah, so we have got quite a lot of equipment here today. You can always substitute household items for most of these things. You'll see we've got a yoga chair here. You can use a sturdy dining chair or kitchen chair. We've four-folded the mat on top. You only need your one mat, you can do that. You need a yoga belt. Again, you can probably make something else up from there to replicate the yoga belt, like a tie. Folded blanket. I'm sitting on a bolster. You could always use a pillow. And we have some foam pads here, 4 foam pads.
Okay, so hopefully some of you have got these props. This practice is also for people who have been practicing for a little while with Iyengar Yoga. You can do some of it, yes, of course, if you're complete beginners, but we are going to be coming into an inversion today. So those of you who are familiar with the inversions then, and you go to classes regularly, then this will be perfect. And if you're not regular practitioners, then we will give you different options.
Right.
Alright, so you can see here Leo's on her bolster. This is where she needs to start. So we're just coming into a chest opening action. And what better prop to use than a bolster? This is brilliant. So when you sit in front of your bolster, you're going to go back, but you're going to go back by lifting up. You've got to almost see that, yes, you're lifting out of the pelvis and going back. So you're getting that length through the centre of the body. And then releasing the head down. I'm just going to move these foam pads just for a moment. And then the legs will straighten with resistance. So you're going to extend those toes up and flex the feet so that it creates this slow action of straightening the legs, and just slowly straighten the legs. So this is a very important part of the practice, and then just release the feet apart. This Shavasana action is slightly lifted on a bolster. Of course you can use or find some props you can build up with. If you've got foam pads and no bolster, then you can use the foam pads. But just to give yourself and allow yourself this peace and tranquility, or work towards it. Now what's really important in this position is that you stay here for a length of time until you can just completely relax. So it takes time to release the nervous system. But if you go to that place on a regular basis, then you're more likely to react in that calm, passive way. So we have to touch the senses in our Shavasana so that we know what calmness is all about. So if you're in this posture and you're working with us, and then we're going to scan the body. We can scan the body from head to toe. So just let the facial features completely release. Release around the forehead, the temples, Release around the back teeth. So this is another area where we're not always aware that we're clenching our teeth, but just let the back teeth release and let the throat become broad. Let the shoulders release down and be aware of your breath. So the inhalation and the exhalation. So we're just noticing at this point in our Shavasana our breath. We're just noticing the breath. We're noticing where it travels, how it travels. Is there a calmness to the breath? Is it smooth and even? So when you breathe through your nostrils, just watch the breath as you start to expand in the ribs. And as you recoil the breath, let the lower ribs recoil. Soft inhale, soft exhale. So what I would suggest to do is to be in this pose for 10 minutes. Yes, that's 10 minutes. You need to have your timer ready. Excuse me. You need to have your timer ready so that you can just completely release and relax. And this relaxation comes from letting go and just taking out observations and focusing within. So we're focusing on the breath. It's not pranayama, but we are just seeing that we find that inward action, inward vision. So just taking those eyes inside, and every time you observe the breath on the exhalation, just let the body completely release, let it become heavier, and let the abdomen soften, let the legs release, let the feet soften and release out to the sides. So I just want you to completely dissolve into this action, into this release. So if you are just finding that sweet spot in Shavasana where you're letting go of the nervous system, and then just stay in this position for a little bit longer. We're going to start to come out of this pose now. So remember, we're showing you the routine, but with the sequencing, you can create your own timings. But what I would recommend is for your whole body to have permission to stop and release. So to come out of this pose, you're going to bend your legs and then roll to your right side. And then slowly coming up. So it's not until we find that deep relaxation that actually we know exactly what that feels like and how we would like to be in that state on a regular basis. It's just not until we actually experience that. That's why yoga needs and requires so much practice on a regular basis. So we're going to come into Viparita Karani now. So I'm just going to show you the props required for this action.
Alright, so I forgot to mention that we will also need a brick for your Viparita Karani. However, if you haven't got a brick, you can just move the bolster a little bit away from the wall so that the sacrum can release down. I'm just going to show at this end of my mat if you imagine that the front legs of this chair or my wall, your equipment goes, the brick here, the bolster comes in front. So that's how your brick will be flat ways down, the bolster in front. It's just so that the sacrum has somewhere to release down to. So I'm now going to do it to the wall.
Sometimes people find it quite challenging taking themselves onto this bolster. This is quite a low support compared with some of the supports we use at the centre. We quite often take the hips a lot higher than this, but people do bounce. So there's ways that you can come into this. You can see, oh look, yeah, that's perfect. So Leo's taking her back body towards the wall so much, and then coming up, flicking the legs up gradually, and then realigning on the bolster. Now if that's difficult, what you can do is take your bottom up onto the wall first, and then bending your knees, and you can place the bolster in after, that way, yeah. So there's a couple of ways of doing it. So if you find you bounce off the bolster, then you can actually bend your knees and put it underneath once you're in the position.
We should do a tutorial on this, shouldn't we?
Yes, yeah. So hopefully you've got your bolster and the brick to the wall, and then taking the legs up. And again, this is about finding your breath, changing your breath, becoming aware of the space within the whole of the front body. So now it's not just about observing the breath in the Shavasana. We have a slight lift of the chest in a different way, but also what's interesting about the Viparita Karani is that the abdomen is soft. Now the abdomen becomes soft because of the slight lift underneath the back of the sacrum, but also you have to see that the pelvis receives the legs. So you have to imagine that you've got a bit of a weight on the tops of those feet, pushing the legs into, or fixing the legs into the pelvis. So the whole of the abdomen starts to broaden, because with that action you'll get space in the lower back region. And then it's another pose where we can again observe inside, observe the breath. So when you're in this position, again, you have to see that you're in this pose for a little while before it works its magic. Scanning the senses, so be aware of the facial features, let the eyes deepen, let the temples release, and again release the jawline. So going through these different relaxation techniques will help you when you come under any difficult situation. So if you find that the anxiety takes over when you're traveling, then come back to that little sweet spot of quietening, softening, breath a little bit deeper. See that you breathe into your body, breathe into the lungs. When you become aware of your breath, the breath comes away from the surface and then starts to work on a deeper level. So just be in this position, becoming deeply aware of the inhalation and the exhalation. And again, as I said, it will be a longer stay. We will stay 5 minutes plus if you're able to, if you have the time. The longer you stay in these poses, it leaves a deeper imprint. It helps us to understand that there's a time to be in that state of yoga, not only in this position but within our lives. So keeping the throat soft, keeping the breath soft. And just see that the abdomen again is releasing with each breath. And there's a sensitivity to release the whole of the muscular body. So again, we talk about the timings, and the timings will be your timings. So if you can stay a little bit longer, then please do. We're going to come out of the Parita Karani now. So we're going to bend the knees into the chest and then roll to the right side. And then come up. So our next pose is Chair Shavasana. Now, if you've never
Chair
sarvangasana, yeah. Chair Shavasana, we did speak about doing that, and that is the option for those of you who are not going upside down. So
show that first.
Yeah. So if you're not going upside down, you're not coming into a shoulder balance, then you'll take a chair and place the bolster in front of the chair, you have the bolster, and then taking the legs onto the chair. So you'll be in this position. So I'm sure many of you can manage this. This is a really beautiful pose to relax in. Those of you who are continuing with the sequencing and coming into the chair sarvangasana, as you can see, Leo is sitting on the chair. We have a mat underneath the chair so that the chair doesn't slip. If you're on a different type of floor, then this may be okay, so you have to work that one out. But more importantly, the bolster is at the end of the mat here, so that the bolster doesn't slip. Now, there's a space where there's no mat, and this is where Leo's head's going to be, so that she doesn't get stuck on the sticky mat. So this is the props. There's also a mat on the chair. So you're going to take the legs over the chair and then move the buttocks through the chair a little bit more. So what's really important about this, if you've practiced a lot of shoulder balance but not this in this way on the chair, then it's very important that you don't go back with the buttocks towards the end of the seat. Can you see here? Yeah. Because you're going to fall off the chair. So the buttocks will go all the way through until the tailbone goes all the way through. So when you come back on the chair, you're coming back and your back is supported, and then you lift the legs up. So your shoulders hit the bolster, and then your hands go through the chair. Now, for some of you, if you've got a yoga chair, then you can do this on quite a few different chairs. I mean, I have used quite a lot of different chairs for this. So you just have to work it out. But I'm just going to put this over the back of the chair because these bars are quite hard. So this is much nicer for Leo. So when you are in this pose, you have to see that your tailbone is moving towards the heels. If the tailbone drops, then you will find that you're going your lumbar. You can see that Leo's demonstrating here. And the back will be uncomfortable. So you don't want that action. You want to really extend those legs so much. Lifting up through the chest. Keeping the hands supporting to the back of the chair. And you can see here with the neck spine that there's a slight Jalandhar bandha going on with the neck area and the chin, and this is when the chin comes a little bit towards the chest side. So when you're in this position, it's a wonderful way to work on your breath again, because the chest is open. When the chest is open, it gives us a wonderful opportunity to again find a different dimension of the breath. So when you're breathing through the nasal passage, be aware of the breath, the opening and the releasing. So if you do find that the back gets a little bit achy or tired, then you have to extend those legs even further. And the timings in this need to be between 5 and 8 minutes. So if you can last that long. If you're quite new to the practice, then of course you'll have to do what you need to do. You need to come out of it, then do come out of the action. It's a really nice pose to just observe the breath, keeping the chest nice and open, slowing the nervous system down. It works so well in these sequences. So we're going to slowly come out of this pose, but again, those of you practicing this, if you're still in the pose and you feel that you need to stay a little bit longer, then please do, because this isn't quite 5 minutes yet. So when you come out of the pose, you're going to slowly come out of it by bending the knees, releasing your hands, and then pushing on the seat a little bit and slide yourself back, slide yourself back. So now you're in the same position as we demonstrated for those of you who are not coming into inversions. So do remember that the inversions take quite a lot of practice. It means to say that you need to be well seasoned in your standing poses before you attempt the inversions. So we're going to come now for Seta Bandha Sarvangasana. So we're going to practice this with a bolster and some foam pads. So Leo is going to lie back onto the bolster. So it's really important that you get that length along the bolster and go back. So sometimes people find that their backs get a little bit caught, so you have to lift the tailbone if that's the case and lengthen. You can see Leo's giving a demo doing that, which is really helpful. And then you coil over the end of the bolster. And this is just delightful, such a lovely action. And then the legs come straight onto the foam pads. I'm going to just move these a little bit so that Leo's got a little bit more of the heel on the foam pad. Now what's really key also is that the palms and the arms turn, and then you just coil the fingers. Now the legs are active. I know a lot of people ask this question because it's a relaxing action. Then do you have to be so active in the legs? Well, yes you do, because the heels need to extend so that you lengthen the lower back. So just let the eyes completely release and soften the facial features, soften the throat. And then become a little bit more connected again with the breath. So we go there. So when you're in this position, it is about releasing the nervous system, using the breath, becoming long in the body, so the whole of the front body, through the nature of the position, is open and extended. The diaphragm is open. So if you're staying in this position, then we would recommend that you stay in this position for the minimum of 5 minutes. And just be there observing the breath, letting the facial features continually release. So go back to those corrections and scan the body to be sure that you're not holding the tension. So it's a soft in-breath and a soft out-breath. Ensure that on each exhalation you find that space in the body. We're going to start to come out of our Setu Bandha, but if you're really comfortable and you want to stay a little bit longer, because we haven't quite stayed for 5 minutes in our demonstration, then please do stay in the position. So to come out of the pose, we're going to bend the knees and then roll to the right side. And then very slowly coming up into seated position.
Actually, I might sit on the foam pads because they're a little bit firmer. And for I've got quite stiff hips, so for me a little bit of extra height and firmness is a better way to sit.
Oh. So sitting in your Sukhasana, so as we've changed the props for Leo for this pose, because of the firmness, you can see that the thighs are in touch with the foam pads. So this is really quite important when you're practicing this pose. And if you find that you sink on a bolster, if it's a soft bolster, this particular one is particularly soft, then do sit on something a little bit firmer. So when you're in this position, see that you are lifting up through the centre of the body and just let the chin slowly release down. So there's a slight extension of the side of the neck. It's not overly pushing into a Jalahanda Bandha action, but it is just a soft bowing of the head without dropping the chest. And I want you to just go to that quiet place, how you've been practicing within the sequencing, and just be aware of your inhalation and exhalation. So when you're practicing in Sukhasana, you're practicing preparation for pranayama, then see that you're not starting off with a very deep breath or a very long breath. It's just observing, and this is where we're going to come to in this video, that observation. So when you breathe, find a center point in your chest and breathe from that center point to the outer edges. But it may take you 2 or 3, 4 or 5 breaths to actually get the breadth of that inhalation. So what I'm saying is that you don't go straight to the outer edge. You breathe gradually, 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 gradually. So eventually you create that space. And you just observe it. So you gradually build the breath. And this is one of the important practices. I'm sure some of you who do suffer from anxiety may already practice some breathing techniques. But this particular technique is really about you taking your senses within, not only on a physical level, breathing, but also trying to calm the mind. And this is exactly what the sequencing is all about. So do practice this preparation for travelling, or for those of you who find that you need to settle the nerves. So on your next slightly deeper inhalation and exhalation, just let the breath go back to normal. So not quite on pranayama yet, but we are working towards observation of breath. And gradually bring the back of the neck in line with the spine. Lifting up through the centre of the body. We are now coming to a close of our sequencing and this video. We do hope you've enjoyed practicing with us today. And if you like our channel, then please do click the like button or even subscribe. Namaste.
Namaste.